back. It's the humblers, GTO, GTO, Pontiac, the way it's gonna be. Hold up, sing your song or you're humming. Horses, do your stuff, keep it coming. Mountain, step aside or lay down.
The Humbler is here. This is the way it's going to be, baby.
Hi, thanks for joining us for another episode of Marvin's Motor City Garage. Today we're featuring this spectacular 1970 GTO Judge Ram Air 4 in Starlight Black. It's a fresh restoration we just finished. The car is literally ready to go on the trailer to the GTO Nationals next week. And this is about one of the rarest 70 GTOs you could possibly find. It's one of 325 ordered with the Ram Air 4 engine package. And the unique things about this engine, a standard Judge had a Ram Air 3, which in essence was a grown-up version of a tri-power engine. It had an 068 cam, quadrajet, standard cast iron intake manifold, and the same exhaust manifolds that were used basically on a 67 HO GTO. The Ram Air 4, what made that special, it had a special round port cylinder head with taller intake ports, also an aluminum intake manifold, and it made for quite a package. So we're going to go around the car. I'm going to show you some of the features and we'll go from there. So this is a one and a half year extensive frame off restoration. The car started life as a 40,000 mile car. It was restored in the early 90s, we believe, and it was very presentable, but it was just very amateurish. The car was basically rust free. We believe the car was a drag car in the early days. The way the car was ordered, manual steering, manual brakes, Ram Air 4, very minimal options, 4-speed. And so we kind of believe it was probably a drag car early in its life, and today it has a new life as a stunning show car. One really neat thing about the car, it has all the original correct drivetrain, which is very hard to find on a GTO like this, because usually they were raced and abused their whole life. But yeah, we're going to take a walk around and I'll show you some of the things we did. We could start with fit and finish. As you could see, the front bumper fits about as perfect as you could make it. And these are quite labor intensive to make fit properly. From the factory, they were notorious for terrible gaps. We've been around the block for many years on these front bumpers, so we know how to get them to fit right. And you can see all the body lines are an even 3/16 gap, and the paint has been wet sanded and buffed, starting with 600 grit to get all the orange peel out. So this is our show finish. Doesn't get much better than this. I mean, the idea is we try to get the paint as flat as lacquer, and unfortunately today's urethane paints have a tendency to have a thick look to them, so we sand it super flat to get all the orange peel out, and that's what we did on this car. This car features its original Rally 2 wheels with the JT code. And one thing sort of interesting about a Judge, they didn't have a trim ring. So it's hard to find wheels that aren't scarred up on the edges from trim rings being put on. And these are actually the original wheels to the car. You can see there's a date code right there. So the M0 is 1970, 1 is the month, 13 is the day, so you can see they're January 13th, 1970. And the car was built in the middle of January 1970, so you can see the wheels are right on the money where they should be. You could see the factory style undercoating in the wheel wells that we do. A lot of people miss that when they do a concourse restoration. And you know, the factory did use some undercoating in certain areas, and we make sure we put it back in the areas that they used it. This car features a lot of original and correct NOS parts. All 4 spiral shocks are original dated to the car. The The headlights are the correct T3s, nice original T3 headlights. We tried to use as many original things as possible during the restoration. So we're going to take a look under the hood. And you can see there's that 400 Ram Air 4. WW code, it's stamped right on the front there. And this engine is the original engine to the car. It has the VIN number stamped below that heater, that radiator hose right there. You can see it has the 614 round port cylinder heads, special round port ram air exhaust manifolds, and here's your aluminum high-rise intake manifold. And actually it's a two-piece manifold. It has a separate heat crossover, and the idea for that is that keeps the heat away from the carburetor, and it actually makes a huge difference with the horsepower rating, and that's one of the things the factory decided to do. The factory rated this engine at 370 horsepower, which is actually pretty conservative. It was probably more like 400, maybe even 4 1/4 if somebody knew how to tune it right. One thing really cool about it, they used a special cam in 1970. It's called an 041 cam. It was one of GM's first computer designed camshafts. It was based on the McKellar 10 Super Duty cam, but they re-engineered it to use with these round port heads in '69 when Ram Air 4 came out, and then they carried it over into '70. And it is the most aggressive camshaft that Pontiac ever put in a car from the factory. And later in the video you're going to hear how good it sounds. I mean, it's a great sounding camshaft. It has the correct Rochester Quadrajet, which is extremely hard to find, with the correct Julian date code. That means a lot on a restoration like this. And some of the other details I'll show you here. We put NOS upper and lower radiator hoses on with the GM markings. We have an original radiator with the original Harrison logo and the tag. Of course, date coded plug wires, items like that. We even have an original molded heater hose back here with the white number stamped on it. That's something you never see. And you can see the factory put a little undercoating around the heater box, and that was a way to waterproof so water doesn't get inside the car. And that's something that is expected to be done on a concourse restoration. Even though it's kind of messy looking, it's an important thing to be made right. The alternator, starter, voltage regulator are all the correct original dated to the car. Even the power steering hose is an original GM, not a reproduction. The brake boosters original, master cylinders original. You can see there's a Julian date right here on the edge of the brake booster. I think it's 028, which would be the 28th day of 1970, which corresponds to that January build date. Original master cylinder, it has a 2-letter code stamped right here on this flat boss. That's how you can tell that's original. So this is about as good as it gets for a restoration. We tried to, you know, dot every I, cross every T, not go overboard, but make it look as good as possible and to give it a good representation of what the factory did on a good day. Something else that's sort of interesting, you can see the car Starlight black, and of course this is all painted black also. So one thing we do, we actually use a different black to paint the fender wells and the core support, and we actually put a little bit of white in it to give it a little bit of a gray tone, and that's pretty much what the factory did. The black that they used under the hood was not a true black like they would have on the outside of the car. And it's just a nice contrast when you have a Starlight black car to see a slight contrast between the inner fender wells and the exterior. And even the Ram air pan, you could see that's done in more of a true black, and the under the hood is more of a what I would call 90% black, where it has a little bit of a gray tone. But it's just all those little details that go into a concourse restoration. Let's take a look at the interior real quick. So the interior is all reproduction, legendary. Legendary is absolutely the best option these days for reproduction interior. They make a pretty accurate reproduction of the comfort weave, and this is unique to a 70 GTO, this comfort weave material. It had a pretty good original interior, but it just wasn't good enough for a concourse restoration, so we decided to replace it all, and it came out really nice. Something unique about the car, no console with an 8-track player, so that's something you don't see very often. And you know, when you do see an 8-track player, usually it's mounted on top of a console. We even went as far as we found an NOS housing for this 8-track player. These usually get beat up and chipped, so that's a nice original housing. Nice original Hearst T handle. A lot of times you see reproductions, that's an original. We also added a Formula steering wheel. That was an option they had in 1970 and 71, and basically this is a steering wheel they used on a Trans Am, but instead of having the bird, it has a Pontiac crest in the center, and the customer really wanted that added to the restoration, so we found an original thick Formula wheel, restored it, and put that on. All the gauges are original to the car. 48,000 original miles, that's the original mileage to the car. The car has a lot of original parts, like I said, original sheet metal, original hood, original seat belts. This is all things that we just cleaned up and restored, the buckles and things like that. So it's a really nice combination of restored and original parts. So yeah, a couple other things about the car. The car is headed to the GTO Nationals next week, so it could be viewed there. Also, the car is going to the Corvette and Muscle Car Nationals this year, and that's going to be the middle of October, and it's going to be in a special display, class of 1970 display. And the car was actually requested to be there, so we're really excited. It's going to have a grand showing there, and we're excited to get the car out and see what kind of points we could gain. It's a very nice restoration, and we're very honored to be a part of restoring this wonderful piece of Pontiac history. Thank you for joining us today.